Bienvenidos y fuerte abrazos al familia. Welcome to Alpha Live. It's our weekly opportunity to get together, to give each other a virtual hug all across the country for all 95,000 members of the Alpha Familia and everybody that tunes in. Tonight, we are live broadcasting out on Facebook, YouTube, and for the first time on LinkedIn Live. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We have a special guest, Nina Vaca, with us, the CEO of Pinnacle. Before we go into her amazing story and getting those gems, having a great conversation, let's do a little bit of celebration. First, celebration 2, Rutgers Newark had their annual year-end banquet celebration where they reward students and each other for having the great accomplishments that they've done for the year and giving back to the community. Congratulations on your year-end banquet and pulling it off virtually. It was fantastic. Another shout out to University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. They held their virtual interview panel. It was a huge success, very well attended. The information was great for in-person and virtual interviews, getting our students ready to be able to engage and get those internships and those jobs. A huge thank you to Justin Lopez, our COO, and Celia Thomas, our Director of Colleges and Universities, for attending and helping the students out with it. Another big shout out to Baruch. They had their first ever Next Gen Investments event that focused on investment pitches for their students. It was sponsored by AMD and Lockheed Martin. Thank you, AMD and Lockheed, for being great partners with Alpha. Next up, we have Class of 2020 Coaching and Mentoring Program. Alpha Boston is doing a fantastic job continuing to knock it out the park, following up their 101 networking night with a mentorship program for professionals. An opportunity to be able to get that coaching and mentoring that you need to be able to grow and excel in your career. Congratulations on the event. Finally, a quick shout out to Alpha ourselves, Alpha Live, with our website. If you haven't had a chance to tune in to past episodes, past shows, you could go ahead to alpha.org, Alpha Live, check out our past episodes, and see what you didn't get a chance to see before, or just watch it again, get some additional nuggets out of there. And now, I want to turn it over to Mario Rivera. Mario, our Boston. But I do have to say, I love the Alpha Familia over in Boston, and what you're doing is fantastic. Can you tell the people watching right now a little bit about yourself and what's going on over there in Boston?
Yeah, thanks, Damien. So excited to be here. My name is Mario Rivera, president of Alpha Boston chapter. We're busy. As a lot of organizations, we had to pivot from events, in-person events, to more virtual experiences. So we've had some fun with that. We recently hosted a networking event with over 100 people from the Boston area. We talked about sports. We had a DJ with a dance party. We talked about parenting from home that a lot of us are challenged with. So we had a lot of fun. We've launched an entrepreneurship series that we call Snacks, and they're 30 minutes. We get a speaker on different topics. So we've got different ways to pivot, and we're just having a lot of fun. Really proud of the board that we have here, all volunteer board, and it's time like this where leadership is really on display. Speaking of leadership, I have the honor and privilege of introducing tonight's special guest, Nina Vaca. Nina is the definition of leadership, and to add a cherry on top, she's Latina. So true trailblazer. She's an entrepreneur, and she currently serves as CEO of the Pinnacle Group. This is a global, not national, global workforce solutions powerhouse that is very supportive of diverse communities. Nina herself is really passionate and involved with providing STEM opportunities for women and minorities. Nina has been recognized by Ernst & Young as Entrepreneur of the Year, by President Obama as Presidential Ambassador for Global Entrepreneurship. The list of accolades go on, but most importantly, she's a huge friend and supporter of Alpha, named one of Alpha's 50 most powerful Latinas. Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, I present to you Nina Vaca.
Mario, thank you so much for that warm introduction. Damien, Congratulations on an incredible platform. You're right. I am a friend of ALPFA because I respect dearly what ALPFA is doing with its platform, motivating, educating, and inspire Latinos everywhere. Hundreds of thousands of members and hundreds of chapters all over universities and in corporations. I love what you do. I love what you stand for. And I am a friend of ALPFA. So happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Can't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was actually just talking about how we're all learning to use technology, and there's a real example. So thank you for being here. I'm going to jump right in. And so we're going through a difficult time right now. You've been through difficult times before, though. And so can you talk to us about how you've pivoted in the past, how you not only survived, but you've actually come out an incredibly successful business?
Well, yeah, thank you. For those of you who are not familiar with my story, I am an immigrant to this country. I have been in business my entire life. I'm a daughter of immigrants, Ecuadorian immigrants that migrated to Los Angeles, California from Quito, Ecuador. And growing up, I had a front row seat to watching my parents grow a business, run a business, and more importantly, the perseverance that it took. I've had my share of ups and my share of downs, and for me, that was an incredible education to watch my parents succeed and fail and get up over again and know that failure was never an option in this country. And so my background is I started my business when I was 25 years old. That was a long time ago. So I am a tenured entrepreneur, and I'm blessed to have now run a company that is a global firm that has a footprint in over 10 countries, and we're proud to be one of the fastest growing Latina-owned businesses in America. So having that background, while that story is beautiful, the reality is we've had many difficult moments. This is officially my third national crisis. The first one was 9/11, followed by the 2008 financial collapse in the country. And for me, I feel like difficult moments, and those are just a few, but in my life, not just in business, but in life, can be filled with difficult moments. And for me, mindset is critical in these moments, because it is in your darkest moments that often you will find your most inner strength. And it takes that inner strength and that courage to come out of these moments. Difficult moments, while they are difficult, they always bring a gift. And the gift is the gift of experience. And so the learnings that we had in 2001 that I learned about almost going out of business in 2001 and having a liquidation plan in place, we were literally about 2 weeks from going out of business. And in 2008, what I learned in those moments, I think has really prepared us for this moment.
So thank you for sharing that. During a time of uncertainty, which this would certainly qualify as, what mindset should a leader embrace? How do you still inspire the people that are looking to you for leadership?
Well, I think that the mindset is that of what's really important is that the mindset be that of a learner. There is a knower and a learner. I'm not afraid to admit that I don't have all the answers. And I think that's really critical when you're leading a team. At this time, I'm leading my team with transparency and communication, and the mindset that we don't say, when are we getting back to normal? There is no normal. Our country and our world is fundamentally changing. And so the question that we have to ask ourselves is not when do we get back to normal, but how do we operate in this new world? How do we transform ourselves? How do we morph and adapt and transform ourselves in the things that we do in a changing and adapting world? And so for me, that is my mindset today as I run the company. To your answer on inspiration, I agree with Simon Sinek when he says that, there are leaders and then there are those who lead. And leaders oftentimes have influence, power, and title, but those who lead, they inspire people. And we follow organizations or individuals who lead, not because we have to, but because we want to. And we do it, we actually follow them not for them, we follow them for us, because we want to bring our best self, our passion. What Alpha is doing here is the followers of Alpha are inspired by what you're doing. And so you're allowing people to reveal their best self and reveal their passion about growing the Latino community. By the way, at a time where our country is most affected by the Latino population, where goes the Latino population goes America, which is why the work that you do here is so critical. So the way that I tend to inspire is by allowing, I like to think of myself as someone who leads. I think the title and is just something that comes as a result of that. And so for me, it's giving the people, at least at Pinnacle, the opportunity to unleash their entrepreneurial spirit, to unleash their best self, to unleash their growth and their desire to build a company and go to new heights and charter new territory and blaze new trails. And so for me, that's what I have embraced all along.
You talked about transforming, about this new normal and unleashing the ideas of your employees as a leader. Do you have a new practice or strategy that has been part of coping with this COVID-19 situation that you can talk about?
You know, I want to caution you on the word coping. I think that coping sometimes transforms or manifests itself in either avoiding the situation or conforming or perhaps rebelling. You know, no, there's nothing going on here. I'm still going to go out without a mask. And so those tend to be coping strategies. What I think I like to instill in people is not coping strategies, but transforming strategies. Right now, we are being asked in every industry, in every city, and almost in every country to take the road less traveled. And so what we need is we need to come up with growth strategies, not coping strategies. We need to figure out how to adapt, how to transform, and we need to bring to bear those growth strategies. That's what the world needs from us today. Not the coping, but the growth.
Gosh, I can imagine sitting in the audience and hearing you talk about that, or as an employee, and that's real leadership, talking about growth strategies and transformation strategies. So that's a great note that I'm taking away. How can people, and you touched on a little about not getting back to normal, but how can people prepare for what's ahead, what's to come, without many of us having enough information to really know what's coming?
You know, I think that preparing yourself mentally is just as important as preparing yourself in many other ways. This pandemic is unprecedented, like anything we've ever seen before. So I like to, you know, there's a paradigm. It's called the Stockdale paradigm that you can read about. Jim Collins wrote it in his book. It's the Stockdale paradigm. It is named after a naval officer who was captured and tortured for 7 years in Vietnam. And I really resonated with that message, because what he talks about as he survived this is, he said, there were many people that got very hopeful and said, there are many people who said, we're going to get out by Christmas. We're going to get out by Christmas. We're going to get out by Christmas. And then they wouldn't get out by Christmas. And so for him, two things, and I take this as a lesson in these times, is a leader, or what you can do, is embrace the reality of what's happening, right? Let's embrace and accept the reality of what's happening. At the same time, have unwavering faith that this too shall pass. And so I think we can lead and move forward with empathy and a real realization for what's happening, but not lose that unwavering faith that this too shall pass. And tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Most definitely. Thank you. And I want to circle back to your past experience with difficult situations. And I was really curious in doing the research on how you've managed that before. How did you find out how you were going to pivot your business? You know, did you have conversations? Who did you talk to? How did these ideas come about?
Well, my first challenge came in 9/11. We had a liquidation plan in place. It was after the 9/11 New York attacks. A lot of companies like mine were going out of business. And so I am an eternal optimist and an entrepreneur. I always look for those tiny slivers of hope and those moments where I can guide and really embrace. And for me, even though there were a lot of companies that were going out of business, there were a lot of people being laid off. To me, as a young, small business, just being in business for a couple of years, I realized that that also translated into talent in the marketplace. So there was a lot of talent in the marketplace, a lot of people I can talk to that were senior, that had been in corporate America, that understood how that process worked and what were their buying practices. And then I went to my customers. There is nothing more powerful than a relationship, a mentor-mentee relationship. And I said, mentor me. If you're not buying this service, what are you buying? Coach me, mentor me, not being afraid to reach out and to speak to my customers. And so what I realized with the talent in the marketplace and the communication with our customers, we got an opportunity to bid on a very different piece of business that was synergistic to what we did. And we were able, we got an RFP, we didn't get the job, and then we got another one, and then another one, because it's not what happens to you, it's how you react in life. And the way that we reacted every time we lost was, I wanted more. It energized me to even learn more, teach me again, teach me why, teach me how, my curiosity. And 44 or so RFPs later, we won our first contract. And that was the beginning of what we call today one of the largest Latino businesses in the country.
That is determination. That is great. I wonder how many people would have lasted to the 44th after hearing no so many times. So it takes that, and then look at what happens afterwards, right? So hats off to you and the resilience that you've demonstrated. How would you, I heard you say something interesting about talent in the market at that time. I think that's similar to what's happening right now. There are a lot of layoffs, which leads to talent in the market. How would you compare what happened then to what's going on now, and how are you reacting as a business and as a CEO, a leader of Pinnacle?
I mean, for us as a business, we're always looking to find the silver lining, right? For us, the virtualization of the entire company literally had to happen overnight. So we were good students of history. In 2008, after the financial collapse, we put a lot of infrastructure in place that would allow us to virtualize overnight. And so we are looking for ways to adapt and transform in a new environment. And for us, I think there are many nuggets and opportunities for us to double down on what we do and to stay close to our customers. Our legacy customers are giving us the opportunity to do different things, even be involved in cost-saving projects as a result of just the resiliency that we've shown during this time, but more importantly, the credibility that we've gained throughout the years. And so again, we're always looking for the positives here. What are the things that we can do in a new world and transform and be there for our customers? And so far, that has provided us an incredible stability. By the way, we have had to make difficult choices, but we do them with a long game in mind. And for us, it's just been an opportunity to see what we're really made out of, because as you know, a crisis opportunity always reveals character. And I have to say something about, you called them employees, I call them associates. I have the privilege of working with some of the best talent in the industry, some of the most amazing entrepreneurs, and boy, do they have character.
That's incredible. So one of the things I want to ask you about are, we've talked a lot about the things you've learned, and I want to learn about the mistakes maybe that you've learned along the way that you've had to learn from as a result. Is there anything that you can talk about that stands out to you where you've said, we took this direction, but we ended up learning that maybe it was a different direction we should have taken, and what we learned from that?
I think mistakes bring a gift. They bring the gift of experience, as I just said. And I have lost count of the mistakes. I mean, in 24 years, I've got a lot of them to share. And so it's not what happens to you, but how you react from them. And I think that reveals true character. And that has proven to be important time and time again. I think learning from your mistakes and adapting is critical. Again, I have lost count of how many in the business world I have, but there hasn't been a mistake that I don't appreciate. There hasn't been a mistake that I'm not grateful for. People have asked me in interviews in the past, what would you change about your past? What would you do differently? And the answer is nothing, because everything in my life has been a stepping stone to the next challenge, right? And so for me, mistakes are exactly that. They're opportunities to learn. And I think that our perspective on how we approach mistakes or difficult times is what matters most. That's why I'm very focused on my mindset.
Great. And so on this call, I imagine there are a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring leaders that are hoping to avoid mistakes, particularly right now. What advice would you give them if they're aspiring to be a Nina and they aspire to be a leader? What do you look for in leadership, maybe in your own organization, right? As you're elevating people within your own organization, what do you see are the qualities that are most important that people can make sure they're exuding as they're working their way through their career?
That's a really great question. There are so many qualities in a leader, but something that comes to mind as you talk about this, I think that empathy is one of an important traits of a leader. I think that being able to inspire people to bring their best selves, not because they have to, but because they want to. I think it's important because if you're in a leadership situation, you're contagious, and how you react and how you treat others becomes very critical at a time like this. But I think that when it comes to leadership as a whole, I think painting a vision that's much larger than yourself is, for me, at least in building a company, has served me well. It is not about and finally, I guess in the topic of leadership, people need to understand that leadership is a service. You are serving people. It's not you're powerful and you're influential. You are there to serve. I am not a player. I am the coach of my management team. I am there to help them reveal their best selves. And that's the way that I approach them. I'm there to coach. I'm there to guide. I'm there to build. And so I think when people fundamentally know what your intentions are, the way that they receive you and the way that they perceive you, it makes a big difference.
I agree. One that I think aligns with some of the things that you're saying is just self-awareness, right? That makes people easier to coach and means they recognize their weaknesses and strengths. So along with empathy and bringing your best self, you have to be self-aware in order to do so. So that's one trait I really appreciate in people that I work with. Can we touch on mentorship and guidance and how that's played an impact in your life? I hear a lot of people say they couldn't have done it on their own. I know you're an entrepreneur, so a lot of it is behind the scenes. People don't get to see that, and sometimes it can feel by yourself. But is there someone that made an impact or some impact that you can talk about where someone really helped you out?
Well, I have lost count of the amount of people. They say that when you're on the right path, the world conspires to help you. and that has certainly been my case. One of the most influential people is my own family, my own upbringing, my own mother, who has always pushed me to be my best self. But in gaining mentors, there is an opportunity for you to gain not just mentors, but sponsors. And mentors are people who, by the way, these don't always have to be professional people. Some of the most amazing mentors I have are in my own family. My sisters are some of the strongest people I have met in my life, and what they have gone through, and their perseverance and their example. My mother, my brothers, and so inspiration can be found all over, and you don't have to be in business to be a leader. You can be a leader in your family. But to answer your question, you can have both mentors and sponsors. Mentors will help you and give you advice and guidance, but sponsors put their political capital behind you. They put their seal of approval. They are talking about you when you are not in the room. When you are being awarded something, or you are being given a raise, or you're being given a promotion, there's always, that is a reflection of somebody else's influence and somebody's perception of you. And so who is that person that is always representing themselves and going to bat for you? And that could be your sponsor. And so getting mentors and sponsors for me, I have had an incredible opportunity to recruit some of the most amazing business leaders that have been coaches and mentors to me. And I think that the reason they have decided to coach me is because I showed what I want to do with that coaching. I'm not interested in just growing a business. I'm interested in making a difference. I'm interested in making an impact. I believe that there is an incredible opportunity for Latino-owned businesses to not just be small businesses, but to be big and global businesses. And I believe that I want to change the perception of Latinos in America. And I believe that I could start with Pinnacle, and I could be an example. And so I think that if you're focused on not you, but you're focused on what you can serve and what you can bring and what you can do, then you attract sponsors. That was a long answer.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I appreciate what you said about family, because I feel like that was a very Latino-oriented answer. I don't hear too many people say family, but at the end of the day, that's who you can truly be vulnerable with. That's who, has your honestly best interest at heart. So I really like that answer for people not to forget. Now, one thing I mentioned was your passion for opening doors and providing access to STEM for minorities and women. Do you mind touching on a little bit of the work that you do there as well?
Absolutely, I'm happy to. The work that I do at Pinnacle has served as, an incredible platform for what I really want to do, which is make a difference, right? I want to be able to open doors of opportunity for others. And sometimes it begins with see it, be it. If you're not seeing people who look like you, who had your experiences and your upbringing succeed, then it's difficult to imagine yourself doing that. I remember when the first time I saw 3 Latinas sitting on a panel that served on a publicly traded company board, my eyes were this big. And I thought to myself, wow, they look like me. The very first time I saw Madam Treasurer speak in a cabinet level position in the administration, and she was a Latina, I thought, wow, I could do that. So I think there's real value in role models. I think there's real value in having those role models. And I want you to know I'm unscripted and I'm just telling you how I feel. And that's like the longest answer I've ever given. But I even forgot the question. But I'm happy to talk. I'm kidding. You're talking about something that I'm super, super passionate about. And that is because the information technology industry is growing incredibly fast, and because I am in this industry, then I therefore have a responsibility to not be the first and not be the only Latina, but to open doors for others. So I do it 2 ways. Number one, I see it, be it. I hope and pray that young Latinas see me and say, if she could do it, so can I. And then the other way I do it is actually formally. I provide a lot of scholarships during the Nina Vaca Foundation. I have an incredible ecosystem and try to teach and help and learn. I have a website that tells you all the places that I've been, all the leadership programs that I've done, in hopes that you'll do the same. And so I don't want to just give people inspiration, but I want to get them information. And I've done that by a website and by the programs and associations that I'm part of. This year, I launched a first global program with the World Affairs Council. The World Affairs Council selected me to be a German Marshall Fellow in 2005. I represented the United States of America in 5 different European countries. And now, so many years later, I have the opportunity to now fund their program where they're inspiring young students to have a global perspective. And so I think that the work that I do comes directly from the gratitude that I have and the appreciation that I am where I am. And I am where I am. And they say that with success comes responsibility. So it's my passion. I could talk about it forever, but those are some of the reasons why I'm so involved in STEM. I'm involved in students, and I'm involved in entrepreneurship.
Well, sounds like we could do a whole other webinar on your foundation and your philanthropy efforts. So thanks for giving a little information on that. We'll have to look up the website and learn a lot more. So thanks for sharing that with.
It's ninavaca.com.
Perfect. That's pretty easy. So I'm going to turn it over to Damien shortly. But Nina, any final words? And thank you so much for being here tonight with us again.
No, I mean, my final words are, I am here because I am a friend of Alpha. I believe in what you're doing. I believe that you are changing the face of America. And by inspiring our young and our executive Latinos, I cannot underscore the work that you're doing and the platform that you have. You can count on me. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today. If there's any questions that I could answer, if there's anything that I could do, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you, Nina. You've been real generous with your time. Damien, turning it over to you.
Thank you very much. So Nina, you can't see all the comments coming through, but this one comment, I think, summarizes it. It was, Nina is knocking it out the ballpark with every answer. Right? When you told us you just want to be able to be helpful, you have been more than helpful tonight. What you have done for us here is a true gift. I thank you for that. If you don't mind, just a couple of quick questions. One
Sure.
was, there was a book you mentioned early on. Is it Stop, Start, or Stop, Stop, Continue Paradigm or something like that?
Oh, no, the Stockdale Paradigm.
Okay. So it's just, okay, people were asking a little bit more about
Oh,
that.
it's in Jim Collins' book. It's the Stockdale Paradigm. I can send it to you, and then maybe you can share it with the group. But that is the story of the Vietnam, the guy who,
Okay.
I'm happy to share that. I think it's in Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. I think he refers to it, but it's the Stockdale Paradox. There we go.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much for that. So one question that came through that I think will help a lot of people. It's from one of our chapter leaders who said, look, when we think about our chapters, we look at them as running a business, and it's really the business of giving back, the business of inspiring, the business of making an impact. When you think about the current environment, what advice do you have for our leaders that are trying to give back in their community, have all these skills, and are just trying to figure out what's the right way to do it in this new world? Do you have any advice or guidance for them?
Yes, I do. So I think that being a good listener is just as important as being a good executor. And sometimes it is not just one answer in Boston and the same answer in Los Angeles, California, and the same answer in Texas. So as a leader, 2 things come to mind. Number one, it's very important to know when it's time to be a leader and when a leader needs to be a follower, right? You don't always have to be out front. And then I would listen to what the needs of the community are. I would listen closely to the needs, the desires, and the skill set of the people around you. And then I would allow that to guide me and to execute an answer for that chapter.
That is fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Nina. I will also, I'm going to put another plug in for your website, because one of the things I love about what you have there is, so people that were inspired tonight, can get ideas and inspiration from you just by signing up within there. So I love that part of what you're doing over there. So everybody check out ninavaca.com. Nina, thank you very much. You mentioned if you can see it, you could be it. You have been an inspiration for me since before we knew each other. When I saw you on a stage at a conference and I heard you say, I'm going to get to that $1 billion. And I thought, yes. And it inspired me. Tonight, you've inspired so many. We've had our largest turnout ever for an Alpha Live, and it's no wonder. Thank you very much for being here with us tonight. And thank you for being a friend and a family to all of us in the Alpha Familia, and for what you are doing for the Latino community across the world. Thank you so much.
Well, Damien, thank you for that. It was a pleasure and an honor to be here. Mario, congratulations, Mr. President. Congratulations on the leadership of the Boston chapter. Leadership is a true responsibility. We have hundreds of thousands of students that are in your hands, and I can't think of a better platform and a better hands to be in with all my young students. So thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you. Have a good night, Nina. Before you tune out, just a couple of quick announcements. Want to make sure everybody is aware of what's coming up next in Alpha Live. So Boston chapter has their entrepreneurial snacks. Mario talked about a little bit, how to adjust your business in times of crisis. Tune in to a LinkedIn Live session with her. That's coming up. Check out the Alpha Boston LinkedIn site to get that information. Also, next weekend, we are taking the week off, but for very good reason. Next week, we have our virtual student symposium that is running from May 14th to the 16th. We are putting companies with students and creating opportunities for our students to be able to get those jobs and get those internships. There are a few slots still open. If you are a student and have not signed up, please sign up now. It's a limit to 300 that we are having for this first one. And if you're a company that still wants to be part of it, please let us know. We have a couple of slots open there as well. And finally, in 2 weeks, tune in. We're going to have Daniel Viau, our Alpha Board Chairman, who's going to be in talking with us about what he is doing within the community through iPartnerships, the organization, the company that he and his wife run. Thank you all very much again for being with us tonight. Thank you for spending time, our virtual hug. Everybody have a good night and a good rest of the weekend.